So what? How does this all ties into our topic today, sustainability? Well, first, I'd like to have a word of warning. I'm at the very early stages in the analysis of my data, so what I will be saying now is very, very provisional. It has to be confirmed or disconfirmed. It's more coming from my impressions of being so long in the field. Let me define sustainability first as the continuation of the flow of benefits beyond the end of the project, when the external funding is over. So the question that arises is, whose benefits, whose sustainability counts? Because in my experience, there's a sustainability switch, which is a moment when the project tends to reach its end. And the project management is like a parachutist trying to land on a precise target, which is spending the very last dollar at the very last minute of the very last day. That's success, administratively speaking. Having no money to give back, having not to ask for more money. It's on this administrative criterion that sadly the project management is, be it a person or an organization, is judged, is assessed to be appointed the next project. So his sustainability is at stake. Then whether you spend the money to buy new computers, to pay a training course, or to repair the roof of a school, it doesn't matter as long as it fits to reach the goal that I stated before. And the local needs are overridden by that. Are we talking about short-term or long-term sustainability here? Because in countries like Burundi, technology and richness are tied together, are associated very strongly. So at a very basic level, if you steal a computer from a school and you sell it on the market, you make your family life more sustainable for 3-4 months. It's much harder to get into a way of thinking that you use technology to generate income, not only to pay the time you spend managing the computer lab, but also to put some money aside to change your computers 3-4 years down the line. And then you have what I call the tech idolatry attitude. Some director in the school were receiving these donated computers, putting them in the room, and then being very careful about what happened. Be very careful about. It's okay. I think you hear me, right? Yeah. Be very careful about not damaging them, like it was a sacred temple. About the computer lab, one said, "It is the most respected room of all, as it contains some very precious things, almost sacred. You don't mess with it." So much was the fear to be scolded by the cooperation agency. Or you can have other directors that keep those computers there only to show off when the President of the Republic comes to visit the school. Technically, sustainability is often the attempt to get to a fail-safe system. But what is a fail-safe system? Is it a system that is unbreakable? It is all automated, like techie likes, and you never need to go for maintenance and adjust configuration. This is quite a chimera. What you look for is a system that is easily restorable. And this brings me to another concept that I think should always be treated when you go and talk about sustainability. Let me show it to you. Resilience. Resilience is the capacity of a system to go back to its original state, reverting changes. I give you an example. The first democratic election in Burundi was as early as 2005, and when the winning party got power, was very, very quick at changing all the public officials, putting members of the party. So you start the project, you build a relationship, and all of a sudden your interlocutors change, and you have to start over. But the project, of course, is time-bound, so you cannot afford that. And that brings the clock back. Everybody knows it, some complain, but it's taken like, oh, that's the way it is, exactly like we do in Italy. So empowerment, when we try to really use technology and education to empower people, I think we have to care about resilience as much as we care about sustainability. Because as a dear friend of mine used to say, we have to invest on vices rather than on virtues. Because vices are stable, virtues are malleable. And knowing what are the reasons that keep the system as it is key to be able to make a sustainable, a long-lasting change and making sustainability itself resilient. One way to do that is to identify the local existing opinion leaders and try to turn them into pioneers of the system you're proposing, and vice versa, identify the silicon thumbs, those who really like to tinker with technology, and try to make them opinion leaders. Then another issue is striking the right balance between control and trust. And of course, this is no news for anyone in education, but it's very relevant, I think, with regards to sustainability, because sustainability requires ownership. And you can have ownership only when the people are free to tinker, to experiment, and even to break these high-tech, expensive tools. And this is something aid system doesn't like, is not prone to do. They go for the safest way. But I think, and I end on that, at the end of the day, it is a matter of attitude. Sustainability depends a lot on our capacity to question our obvious over and over again. Really being always aware that we are at a crossroad between different mindsets, different interests, different cultural background, and taking something for granted is always a risky move. And I'd like to leave you with a little story from my time at the university when I was studying organizational psychology. One day the professor came and handed out a bunch of stereograms like the one you're seeing now. And of course it was quite a novelty at that time, and few of us really knew how to look at them in order to see the third dimension. Anyone who managed to see what is there? Cool. Okay. And so after a few minutes of bemusement, he asked us, well, did anyone manage to see something? Few hands went up. And then he said, you know, guys, what's really important is not whether you see the third dimension or not. What matters is that those who don't see it do not claim that since they don't see it, it doesn't exist. And vice versa, those who see it do not expect that since they see it, it's there and everyone sees it. Thank you for your patience, and I welcome you to come to
Thank you. I have the feeling that if I take what you said, I just remove some of the pictures that would exactly apply to all the schools I go to Switzerland. Empowerment, resilience, sustainability. It may be clearer to see them in Burundi, but actually exactly the same approach could apply to any school in Switzerland.
I'm glad.
Different context. So,
I think, if I can just reply quickly on that, I think really the idea of, I think the contribution that ICT for development can have to this community, although seeming that remote, is that where you don't have sort of a background noise where the pupil goes home and has his laptop, his iPhone, his BlackBerry, etc., is that you can see the phenomenon very clearly standing up, so to speak. No more questions?
it was not even a question. Comments?
I think I might
Everything
add
was said. It's excellent presentation.
Thanks. No, I would like to maybe tell a little story. I mean, I think the case of the director, you know, we brought there the computers, tables were there, the power was there. The only missing thing were chairs. And you know, buying a few stools would have costed really nothing to the school. It was a big school. So I asked him, but how come, you know, you have the computer since months in here, they are working, you have trained for months your local teachers to become able to administer them. What happens? What's wrong? And the answer was, it said, you know, it's holy place. We are not allowed to go there and spend this money to put stools, because otherwise, you know, this is something that the cooperation agencies should buy for us, and if we do this, it's like stepping over a line. And so it is better that the students go out of that school without even touching a computer, even if the computer is there. And I think this is really what I try to do, if I have to really summarize in a nutshell, is to zoom out and try to call for an analysis of the context we are in. Because, as Bateson would say, context drives relationships in it, and relationship drive content. And I think very often we do focus only on content, on the interaction within the classroom, and these higher levels are rarely tackled. Thank you.
Just a question, I didn't understand. Now you are not working anymore in Burundi.
No,
so
now
you have collected all data and you are
yes,
analyzing
I went back 6 months after the end of the project to see how things were. So I did a set of net maps and interviews March and February last year. But at that time, the cooperation project was still there, because this was a sub-project in a 5-year-long project, which ended last December. So I'm planning to go back probably the end of this year to see, after the cooperation has left and it's all on their hands, what happens. Thanks.